Of Profit on Purpose. I'm Darren Wurz, certified financial planner and author of The Lawyer Millionaire, and your gracious host today. I'm really excited about today because this is where Profit First gets real. Parts one and two laid the foundation, and that's great. We talked about profit first, cash flow, starting to think about your firm as a financial engine. And today we're going to build on that and go into the practicalities of what it actually takes to drive profitability. And then, hopefully, ideally, start converting that into actual personal wealth. That's really important too. We're doing all this so that we can one day retire, right? Maybe, hopefully. All right. So let's get into it. First, just a little bit about, why this is so critical. Um, the core message on this slide is the through line for everything today. Your personal financial health is really in lockstep with the financial health of your business. Most firm owners treat the business and personal as two separate worlds, and I do advocate for keeping them as separate as possible. But the reality is they're very connected. What happens personally, your personal balance sheet shows up in the firm and vice versa. There's a lot of overlap. So today we'll walk through five takeaways, and this is just a preview. The profit lever framework, remove, focus, capture, our organizing concept for the first half. The top efficiency drains, the hidden killers, that eat your margin before you ever see it. And third, we'll talk about advanced profit first accounts, beyond the basics into the accounts that give you real control. Fourth, how to apply profit first in your personal life. Really cool stuff there. Most people don't do that, but I'll show you what that looks like. And then a clear action step, something that you can do this week. By the end of today, my hope is that you don't just understand these ideas, but you have a clear next step that's going to be really, really helpful for you. And feel free to chime in. Feel free to interrupt me and chime in if you have thoughts or questions or comments, things that you've experienced, wisdom you want to share with the group. We're all game for that. Okay, and welcome all of those just joining. We had a few more hop on here. I'm super excited to see all of you today for our third and final masterclass on Profit First, where it gets real. So we're going to do our quick intros here. Take 30 to 60 seconds. Tell us your name, your firm, and one thing you're hoping to get out of today. And also, feel free to put your information in the chat. You could put your LinkedIn link in the chat if you want to connect with others on the call. It could be a great networking opportunity for you. So as people share, listen for anyone that you would really like to connect with. And we'll go ahead and start with Jeff Kimmel.
How you doing? I'm Jeff Kimmel. My firm is Salinger Sack, Kimmel and Bavaro. We're in New York. The firm practices personal injury and medical malpractice on the plaintiff side. We've also started getting involved in mass torts, and we do a lot of our own marketing and intake on that. That's where my focus is recently. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about how the profit first business can bleed into personal life and how you can make it work in both places.
Fabulous. Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Heidi next.
Hello, everyone. Heidi Keenan. The law firm is Heidi L. Keenan, LLC. We are in the south suburbs of Chicago, doing estate planning, probate, and veterans disability law. Like Jeff, I'm hoping to see how this can also work in my personal finances.
Fabulous. Yeah, awesome. All right, let's go to Jeanette next.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Maxey. I'm at Maxey Law Firm LLC in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, and I'm hoping to firmly get some of these levers into my mind and actually exercise probably at least two of them.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Jeanette. Let's go to Emily next.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Emily with Donahoe Carney Law Firm. We practice in Washington, D.C. I'm sitting in on behalf of our managing attorney today. I'm our operations director. So Part of my focus with Lawyer Millionaire is better understanding how we can streamline on the operations side. And I took a peek at the workbook you sent around, Darren, and cloning our best clients. How can we get more of our best clients in the door?
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks, Emily. Let's go to Stephen next.
Hey, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Stephen Blaker. I'm in Los Angeles. I am the co-founder of Blaker and Granite. We are an immigration law firm working with clients all over the country and the world. And I am hoping to learn how to institute profit first in my personal life and the business.
Fabulous. All right, thanks, Stephen. Let's go to Kristen next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Haygood with KGH Family Law. I'm in Maryland, actually right outside of DC. So I do family law only, and I have been looking to really focus on that ideal client and kind of shift my practice towards more out of court resolution practices. So I've started Profit First late last year and just want to keep learning more and how to use it.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks, Kristen. Let's
Thanks.
go to Veronica next.
Good afternoon. My name is Veronica Montemayor. I am in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. My firm, Montemayor Law, practices immigration primarily, and we also handle PI cases. And I'm just here just to echo what a lot of you guys have already said is I'm just trying to get some more tools in my tool belt to kind of simplify and be able to visualize, where my firm is, where it's going, and just build from there.
Awesome. I love that. Thanks, Veronica. Let's go to Allie next.
Hi, everybody. Ali Petrova here. I'm a tax and M&A attorney based in North Carolina.
Super. All right. Welcome, Allie. Anything really that you're looking forward to learning today?
So your invitation caught my attention, and I know you invited me a while back. Interested in finding out more about the 5 levers.
Okay. Fabulous. All right. And let's finish it up with Patience. Welcome, Patience.
Good afternoon. I am Patience Moore, the owner of Patiently Guided Law Office. I practice family law solely. And what I'd like to get out of today is a better understanding of the how to apply profit first in both business and personal. And I'm located in Maryland.
Oh, a couple of Maryland folks.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I
Great,
think I
great.
spoke with you before, Patience, but we'll
You
talk.
have.
I love
I'll
that.
talk to you later.
Making connections. And by the way, feel free to check out the chat, the Zoom chat, for others you might want to connect with, and feel free to put your info there if you would like to connect with others on the call. Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much for those introductions. Let's talk about the profit lever, the big profit lever, kind of three parts, the three big movers here, and there's a couple more, but the kind of the three concepts, and what this is going to be our conceptual anchor for the first half. A lot of times we think about profit as something we add, right? More clients, more services, more hours, but that's not always what it's all about. It sometimes is about what we subtract, and that can be kind of counterintuitive. So, kind of three pillars here of the profit triangle that we want to look at today. And I know this sounds counterintuitive. You've probably been told your whole career that growth means more, but sometimes it's about strategic subtraction. So the three big components here: number one, removing. Eliminating the drag, bad clients, mismatched work, scope creep, things like that. Number two is focus, doubling down on what's working, your best clients, specialization, delegation. There's a few profit levers in there. And finally, capturing, protecting what's been freed up and converting it into personal wealth. So those kind of the three big chunks that we'll be moving through today. Before we go any further, though, there's some myths that we need to unlearn. Before we can act differently and make changes, we need to have a clear mental framework and understand the frameworks that are holding us back. So we're going to go through these. Now, myth number one is this idea that more clients means a healthier firm. How many of you have had a year where maybe you added clients, but somehow things weren't as profitable, or maybe you had more stress than you actually wanted to have, right? That's because not all clients are created equal. Some clients will actually cost you more to serve than they actually generate in revenue. And so more clients is not always a win. Even if you might think, well, you have a client, if you're on a billable hour model, especially, you have a client, you're going to be getting more billable hours just by having that client. Well, there's more to it, right? There's probably a lot of non-billable time that you're spending on that client's case or mental space that that client is taking up. If it's a client who's not a great fit for the firm, or who needs a lot of special attention. So you can see how that can easily happen in your practice. Myth number two is growth means adding new services. This one we encounter a lot. Oh, and I left out Jim. Jim's on the call. Hey, Jim, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, yeah, sure. My name is Jim Coford. I'm a uh, certified financial planner with Wurz and Lawyer Millionaire. And I'm a big fan of making sure that clients that every dollar that comes in and go, every dollar that they earn has a purpose. Like every dollar has a job, and it works in business too. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of Profit First. I've seen it, completely transform law firm owners' practices in a positive way and really gets them organized and on track to building wealth.
Absolutely. Okay, so thanks, Jim. Myth number two, growth means adding new services. We see this a lot. A lot of law firm owners who want to add a new practice area or kind of really change things up because they're a little bit tight in their current practice area. They're struggling to gain momentum. Um, but we want to, that can be a trap sometimes. Sometimes it can make sense to go into a new practice area. Totally. If you've really evaluated it and it strategically makes sense for you, but we just want to make sure that's not a reactive decision. We want to ask this question: is your existing practice area running at its highest possible profitability? Because new services require new learning curves, new marketing, new systems. There's a lot more that goes to it, right? We had an immigration focused firm that wanted to add personal injury. You think, oh, just add personal injury because it's a high profit, high margin kind of business. Well, there's a lot that goes into it. Ask any PI attorney. It's not maybe quite that simple. So there's always a runway and a ramp that takes place before, profitability really starts to kick in. Myth number three, often we hear, I need to invest in my firm first. This one can be dangerous. It's not all, any of these myths are not always, they're not all untrue all the time. There is some truth to them, but the problem comes when we start to believe in them as absolute truths. Investing in the firm often becomes a reason that we never become profitable. And so we need to make profitability a focus. I've seen firms that have been, firm owners who've been investing in the firm their whole lives and have never quite made the turn into profitability. And so they haven't been able to build the wealth that they really want. Any thoughts on these? Have you experienced any of these in your life and in your practice?
I'm Stephen Blaker. I'll speak up here. My immigration is typically a flat fee practice, and so the scope creep is one that I experience frequently. And with bad clients, the scope creep can be extreme.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, they want something that's quite not aligned. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Stephen.
I can give a couple of examples
Yeah,
in my firm. So we do PI and medical malpractice. We at some point or a couple points try to do employment law. We figured, oh, it's similar. People are calling us thinking we handle that kind of thing. It's could be a contingency similar to our business. And we had an attorney who had some experience, and we tried doing it. But what you said is true. It was a huge learning curve. We had to give him staff, and none of the staff really knew how to navigate that area of law, which was very
Yep.
specific to, like, the city had different rules than the county, than the state, and it became negative returns.
Yeah.
It was too much work. But at the same time, I will say one thing that did work for us, and again, we do personal injury med mal that involve a lot of death cases and infants cases, especially the medical malpractice. And for each of those cases, once you settle a case, you still need work. You still need to get a settlement approved by a surrogate judge, or you need to get it approved by a Supreme Court judge if it's an infant. And each of those involves skills and knowledge
Yeah.
beyond personal injury. We would have to go to estate attorneys, guardianship attorneys, stuff like that. So we ultimately hired a trust estate guardianship attorney to work in-house, be in the firm. And what I'll say is that that's worked out phenomenally. So we know, because now we also have control over what's going on. It's not like I'm calling somebody and saying, what's going on with the infants comp order, what's going on with the death compromise order. It's happening in-house. And it's also important because that's how I get the money, right? The case
Yeah.
isn't over until I get the money. So this has been a great investment for me and a great new area for the firm. And we've given her support also as far as staff, and it's gotten us more efficient in getting the cases and getting the money after the cases are settled. So it's been really successful.
Thanks so much for that, Jeff. Yeah. And it's not that adding new practice areas is always a mistake. It can make sense, but it just be aware of all that goes into it. There's often some complications. Okay, so let's talk about the drivers of efficiency, the top drivers. And this goes into the first of our three pillars here, which the first is removing. And so driver number one is firing bad clients. And I did put out an email blast about this. This is one of the most powerful data points here. And there's some research that's in the book Profit First that they talk about it. A firm called Strategics studied thousands of companies across industries. They sorted clients into four quartiles, top 25%, next 25%, and so on based on revenue. And then they looked at what each group actually costs to serve. So get this. The top quartile generated 89% of revenue and 150% of profit. So somebody's actually losing profit. Okay. The bottom quartile generated 1% of revenue and was negative 50% of profit, actually reduced profitability by 50%. So it was a net loss on the bottom quartile of clients. In each quartile, generally consumed a similar amount of time and cost to serve. So the takeaway is this: your best clients are likely generating more than your total profit, 150%. And if not that, probably generating the vast majority of your profitability and revenue. Your worst clients are likely destroying 50% of it. Both groups cost you usually a similar amount of time and money to serve. So if you were to go through your client list and you were to group them into buckets, you might see a similar result. And this really is a reflection of a commonly known a concept called the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule, where 20% of anything drives 80% of the results, right? And that's a common kind of ratio we see in many businesses and many industries and things like that. We recently have trimmed our client list a little bit in our own business. Not that we had bad clients, but we had clients that were on the lower end of the AUM spectrum, and we love them, we love serving them. But what we realized is that it was actually costing us a lot more to serve those clients. So we helped some of those clients transition to a more cost-effective service provider that would work well for them and do a great job for them. And what we really realized that it wasn't a great fit for either of us. It was really a better fit for them to work somewhere else. So has anyone experienced this in their firm? um, getting rid of bad clients or bad fit clients, maybe not bad clients. If not, that's okay. But it is a very interesting thing to think about, and it can be very counterintuitive. It can feel very scary to let go of clients because you're like, oh no, I'm letting go of revenue, right? I want to hang on to that revenue. But what we often don't realize is that we're actually losing money, on some of those bad clients. It's costing us more to keep and serve them.
Yeah, Darren, I've learned that for me, probate cases where there's tons of fractional interest and families that don't get along, it's just not worth it to me. Even if you have money, it's like too much conflict for my personality. So it's just not worth it, and I've learned to let them go.
That's a great example. Yeah, something that is just something you don't really enjoy. That's going to just be a time and energy drain for you. Absolutely. Now, why are bad clients so costly? Well, there's a few reasons. They consume disproportionate resources. The chronic complainers, the slow payers. Anybody have any AR issues? The scope creepers, they eat attorney time, they eat your bandwidth, they eat your admin's bandwidth, they eat your attention. And a lot of that cost doesn't really show up on a bill necessarily. Number two, it destroys your realization rates. When clients dispute bills, demand write-downs, or don't pay, your realization rate craters. Great clients pay and they pay on time. You billed 100, you collected 70. That's the real number, the realization rate. Third, they crowd out good clients. Your capacity is fixed. This is something we often don't realize as business owners. We think we have unlimited capacity. But the truth is, every spot that a bad client is taking up is a spot that a great client could fill. So we want to be aware of that. Fourth, they demoralize your team. This is a cost we don't always think about. Attorneys and staff that are dealing with abusive or unreasonable clients burn out. Turnover is very expensive for a law firm. So there's kind of a hidden cost of bad client relationships. And lastly, they skew your positioning. Who you keep as a client is a signal to your market. So maybe a bad client is one that's not quite a good fit for you. Maybe they're a little bit outside of your scope or they don't really fit your ideal client profile, but you took them on anyway because you're like, well, it's revenue. But that can kind of skew your positioning in the market. And so we want to be aware of that. And last, of course, is that they, can potentially kill your profitability. Late payments, disputes can make your profit first allocations very difficult. So cleaning up your client roster helps get your cash flow smoother almost immediately. A small roster of really well-matched, profitable clients almost always outperforms a large roster of padded with bad ones. I've seen a lot of posts kind of like this on LinkedIn. One attorney I follow on LinkedIn was like, one of the biggest mistakes you can make starting out is just get as many clients as you can right away. Well, a lot of those clients may not be great ones, so we want to be a little bit more selective. So the application for you is to spend some time auditing your worst clients. Take a few minutes sometime this week, write down your 5 worst clients, and just think about these things. How much did they actually pay you? Not what you billed, but how much did they actually pay? How many hours did you actually spend on their matter? Not just the billed hours, all of it. The time you spent thinking about their case when, or maybe you felt bad billing them for the extra time that you had to spend holding their hand, so you didn't. And how much stress did they cause on a scale of 1 to 10? When you do the math, you might be shocked. Okay, driver number 2 is the corollary. Clone your best clients. Now we flip the coin. We've talked about removing the drag. Let's talk about multiplying what works. Think about your absolute favorite client right now. The one where interaction is easy, the one that loves you, the one that hired you without a sales pitch. They called you up, set a meeting, they were ready to go. You didn't even need to sell them, right? They respect your time. They pay on time. They trust you. They're going to refer their friends. Now imagine you had 5 more just like them. Wouldn't life be great? Or 50 or 100. So, client cloning, we want to clone your clients very deliberately. We want to understand exactly who your best clients are and reverse engineer how to get more of them. Cloning is great because it creates efficiency. You've solved these problems before. Your work's going to get done faster and better. Enjoyment. When you enjoy your work, you do it a lot better and faster. That's going to show up in the quality and in life satisfaction. And lastly, referrals. Great clients know other great clients, so they become your best marketing. So how do you do this? Okay, 5 steps. Number one, you want to define who they actually are. This is down in the bottom section here. Define who they actually are. Look at your realization rate, referral behaviors, enjoyment, and figure out who they are and make a list. Number two, reverse engineer their profile. So ask yourself, where did they come from? How did they find you? You know, a lot. John, how many law firm owners do we work with who don't know where their clients came from? We need to know. We need to know. We need to have that written down.
Yes.
What made them hire you? What was it? What was the thing that really grabbed them? And what are some things that they share in common demographically, right? Where do they live? Where do they shop? Where do they go out to eat? What are their habits, right? What kind of a person are they? Are they a motorcycle enthusiast? Are they a beach goer? Do they ski, right? We really want to get granular about who they are. Third, go back to the source. Likely your best clients are coming from a similar referral source. Who is that referral source? We need to make that referral source feel really good. We need to be calling that referral source on their birthday, sending them a gift a couple times a year, reaching out, right? Really nurturing that relationship. Number four, position around them. So we want to build our website. We want to do workshops. We want to streamline our branding and make everything kind of speak to that client. We want to put ourselves in that shoes. And if that client was reading my website, what's really going to speak to them? What are the questions that they're asking? And as you all know, specialists command higher fees than generalists, right? And that's going to help you repel the wrong clients. And finally, create content that speaks only to them, right? So think about what are the big questions that they are asking, not just about their case, but other things too. What is really going to grab their attention in podcasts, blogs, videos, YouTube, etc. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. Any thoughts or comments, you're welcome to share. Let's look at an example and application. Here's what this might look like in practice. Let's say there's an estate planning attorney. She realizes that her favorite clients are family-owned businesses. She understands the work, they pay on time, they refer their friends. She genuinely enjoys the work. It's complex, it's meaningful, it's high value. So she's going to change her positioning. She's going to rebrand as the estate planning attorney for family business owners. So it's not just about practice area, but it's more even more specific than that. She's going to redo her website, podcasts, speaking topics, and turn down clients that don't fit that profile so that she has the capacity for more clients that do fit that profile. The result could be a wait list, could be higher fees, could be work that she loves. Either way, she's going to be much more profitable. So your homework this week, if this is something you want to work on, write down your 5 best clients or matters from the past year. What do they have in common? Where did they come from? And how can you get more of them? So go through that strategy, those questions, and you might discover some real gold there. Okay, let's go to driver number 3, strategic focus plus delegation. 2 ideas here. We want to keep the energy and move efficiently. Specialists are paid more than generalists always in medicine, finance, law, everywhere, right? There's a reason the cardiologist makes a lot more money than the general practitioner. When you try to be everything to everybody, the market doesn't really know who you are. as well. The market's confused. Your clients are confused. They don't know who you serve. I don't know if I've listened to a lot of elevator pitches and then been like, well, what do you do? It should be super clear who you serve, right? That's the strategic focus. When you specialize, the right clients find you and pay a premium because you're the expert. Quick note on new practice areas. Adding a practice area is usually not the best solution to a revenue or profit problem, as we mentioned, right? So that's why strategic focus, let's think about that first before we start expanding. Expanding might be a great idea, but don't want to do that simply to solve our profitability issue. And delegation kind of goes along with this. And this is actually a throwback to when we read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell last year. I don't know if some of you were around for that, but another really, really great book. So delegation is about protecting your focus as a law firm owner and leader, right? So think about it like this. If your hourly rate is $500, you should not be doing $50 an hour work. Every time you're formatting a document, chasing a signature, or managing your own calendar, you are misallocating resources. And you're potentially losing out on higher value work that you could be doing. So if you're looking for a delegation resource, I would go back and read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And we did put some resources on that in the community as well. So along those lines, think about it. What are some tasks that you did this week or that you did today that maybe somebody else could do? I recently talked with somebody about the concept of inbox management and delegating your inbox to an executive assistant. It's kind of a foreign concept to many. I'll tell you this, though, I've been doing this for years, and it's amazing having somebody else manage and triage your inbox because then I don't have to be in there all day. I don't have to be, and I find that the inbox is just an incredible time waster for me. Has anybody else delegated their inbox successfully to an EA? If not, that's a great place to start.
I haven't, but I'd love to. So maybe you could tell us how did you make that transition? Who do you hire who can make the decisions that you would otherwise make? Because to me, I have emails with like potential new cases or whatever that I feel like I can't trust other people. So how do you get there?
Trust is a big one. When a good executive assistant is like your second brain, and they're going to be a really savvy person. We're not talking about, a very inexpensive like virtual assistant. We're talking about, think about Tim Cook, right? CEO of Apple. He has an executive assistant, and his executive assistant, I guarantee you, is a sharp person. Okay. Now, they may not be a legally minded person or have a law background necessarily, but what they're going to do first is they're going to organize your inbox and they're going to put all the things that only you can handle, they're going to put in a box, in a folder for you to deal with. Right. So a lot of those legal questions, those things like that, they're going to put that in that folder, or they're going to send it to a team member to handle. So maybe someone on your team, another attorney could handle that so that you don't have to handle that. Maybe it's something that truly is not something that only you can deal with. They're going to have a folder that's a specific folder that's for the emails that truly only you can handle. Everything else, someone else is going to deal with. Either they're going to handle it if it's like a scheduling issue or somebody needs a quick resource or has a quick question, right? You don't need to get bogged down with that. They can handle that and you don't even have to ever see it. That's the beautiful thing. Well, I find that the email inbox, time is helpful. Um, it- my executive assistant was out on maternity leave for a couple months and having to manage my own inbox. Oh my gosh. It's like an hour a day. It's crazy. Um, time is one thing, but then I think the bigger thing often is just the mental space because you and I, we only have so much mental space and we are making a lot of decisions in a day. There's a lot of things that we're doing, having to decide if this email oh, somebody needs to grab some time with me. I need to go find this and do that. And before you know it, you spent 15 minutes just trying to handle a very simple matter, and all of that compounds over time. So, but the Buy Back Your Time book is great in terms of practicality, like very, very simple pathway for how to do that, very practically. But great, yeah. Thanks for the question, Jeff. That's great. We could spend a lot of time there. Okay, so those are kind of our top three drivers of efficiency. Let's go into our top five efficiency drains, right? Let's talk about the killers, the profitability killers, and here they are. These are the structural problems that are going to eat profit before it ever reaches you. So, our big wins for driving profitability are those three that we talked about. Now, here are the ones that kill us. Number one, the owner as the bottleneck. Every decision flows through you. You're doing all the legal work. You're still managing your own emails, right? If that's all happening, it's going to be tough to scale when everything has to touch you. So you're kind of that single point of failure if that's the case and you're the bottleneck. That's one. Number two, doing everything from scratch. We need to have templates and systems and processes. Every matter, every document, every process, if those are being invented on the fly, fresh, it's a huge efficiency drain. So here's kind of the big idea. Expanding profitability is primarily about efficiency. The more we can expand, improve efficiency, the more we'll be able to drive profitability. And this is going to be very, very, very critical for law firms that have been used to enjoying high profit margins for a long time, especially in the age of AI. Because there's a lot of people who are going to be trying to do things a lot faster and a lot more inexpensively with AI tools in the coming years. So, templates, we want that. We want systems to help us not do everything from scratch. Number three, systems that don't talk to each other. When data gets entered in three places by hand, your practice management system doesn't connect to billing, which doesn't connect to your CRM, etc. In manufacturing, this is called integration debt. You're paying for it every time in staff time and errors. Number four is mismatched work to role. A surgeon who books their own appointments is catastrophically misallocating time, the most scarce and valuable resource of all. Every $400 an hour attorney, every hour that attorney spends doing low value work, it creates structural inefficiencies. So we want to match work to the right roles. And lastly is invisible time leakage, unlogged billable hours. A lot of attorneys are not billing all the time that they could, the ones that are on a billable hour model. Slow billing cycles, scope creep, Stephen mentioned that one, on flat fee engagements, client communication that doesn't get captured. Retailers, for instance, track something called shrinkage obsessively, which is how much of the inventory is disappearing. And believe it or not, there's a percentage of inventory that disappears either to theft or loss or spoilage. So we want to track things like that. We want to track our time. Your inventory is time as an attorney. What gets measured gets done, right? So has anybody seen these show up in their firm? Want to comment? Efficiency drains, any of those that you've experienced. So think about those five. Which of those have you experienced in your practice, or maybe which of those you're experiencing right now? And if you don't want to share, that's fine. But I bet you,
I don't mind sharing. Um,
yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry to cut you off. So I started my firm a little over a year ago, and right now I'm still doing everything other than bookkeeping. I did hire a bookkeeper, which was an
Great.
amazing decision. Um, but
Yes.
otherwise, I'm doing everything. So I'm doing all of the, how did you say it? I think like the $10 work.
Hmm.
So yeah, if there are a bunch of leaks in my system.
Yeah, so you could start really easily with a virtual assistant. You don't have, a lot of lawyers think they need to hire a lawyer first as their next, their first hire. But, I would start with somebody who can do simple things like make social media posts for you, and schedule time on your calendar with prospective clients. Those little things that really do add up and eat into your mental space, and someone that you could hire fairly inexpensively and like a part-time capacity could really, really help and kind of get that process started for you. But congratulations, Patience. That's very exciting and good for you for hiring somebody to do your bookkeeping for you that's qualified because that's really important for lawyers. Okay, so we've gone through some of the efficiencies, right? And this is a big part of expanding profitability is efficiency. That's the key word. But now let's take a little bit of a pivot and let's talk about advanced profit first techniques. So, most people set up their profit first accounts. That's the foundation, your OpEx, profit, owner's comp, and tax. But there's some extras. There's some next steps that we could take. And I want to go through these. These are some extra accounts that we could set up. One is the vault. The vault account is another one you could set up. This is your ultra low risk, interest bearing account, your firm's emergency fund. The goal is to have at least 60 days of operating cash. And this is for emergencies only. Once you build that up, you can start building that up in your profit account and then moving that over to the vault. And you want to make sure, again, that's in an interest-bearing place. What we like to do for clients is actually set up a business brokerage account and invest it in a money market mutual fund that can pay, 3 or 4%. Another one is the big purchase account. Anybody have any big purchases they make throughout the year? Maybe you have like a big sponsorship you do that's 20 grand, or you have a software purchase on an annual subscription, right? I'm sure some of us have some things like that. Well, instead of it being a big surprise, you sign up for the annual because you want to get the discount, right? Well, then the bill comes due and you're like, "Oh crap, this is going to sink my profitability this quarter." I got to make sure I got money on hand. So, what you can do is set up an account specifically for these things. So let's say you have, you're going to sponsor the state bar association conference and it's 15 grand. Well, instead of paying 15 grand, you're going to pay 15 grand once a year. Well, let's set up an account and let's allocate 1/12 of that $15,000 expense once a month. So we turn into that account from our OpEx account. So from our OpEx, we're going to pay 1/12 of that expense into an account each month. That way, you've turned a one-time annual expense into a monthly expense. It's going to be more predictable for you, and it's going to be less of a surprise when it comes time to pay that expense. Hey, I've got the money in the account. So you can kind of transform, any kind of subscription model that you're on that's a monthly thing, and you want to get that 20% discount to change it to annual, but you're like, do I want to have a big annual bill? Well, this is one way you can kind of keep it monthly and still get that discount. Okay, a couple more. One is the payroll account. That's often very helpful. For most law firm owners, payroll is your biggest expense. So it makes a lot of sense to maybe have a separate payroll account that you're allocating funds into. Another one is the drip account. This one might be good for irregular payments, large settlements that come in, big retainers or contingency payouts. When a large sum hits your income account all at once, it creates two problems. It inflates your profit first allocations, and it can make you think you have more money than you do, and then you end up spending more money than you need to. So the drip account catches that money first, and it's going to drip into your income account at a fixed monthly rate once a month. And that's going to help smooth out your cash flow and smooth out your allocations so they reflect a more true baseline for you. So that might be very helpful for like your contingency fee attorneys and avoiding that feast or famine cycle.
Yeah, I'll just chime in for when that happens, it's great to get these big checks, but what we've done in the past is we've taken a lot of the money because we know we have to pay taxes. And I would open up, I have accounts in Schwab and in Fidelity, and I would buy T-bills. This is, in the last few years, the T-bills have been higher returns than the money markets. And so
Perfect.
I would choose, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 13, whatever it is for whatever was appropriate. And this way I'm making money on the money I'm going to be spending on taxes.
I love that. Yeah, and you can kind of align the maturity with when you're going to need the funds.
Exactly.
Great idea, Jeff. You want to come work with us, Jeff? Thank you. All right. So those are two there that can be helpful. A few others that might be helpful. A new hire account. Profit First can help you determine if you can afford a new hire. Here's how it works. One of the biggest questions we get, how do I know if I'm ready to hire? So many clients struggling with hiring. Here's how you can do this. Set up a new hire account. Start paying into that account what you would pay the new hire. Salary, taxes, benefits. Do that for, 90 days. If it doesn't hurt, guess what? You're ready to hire. Okay. And then you've set aside 90 days worth of salary for whoever that person is going to be. So you're kind of a little bit ahead of the game there. So that's really helpful. If it's tough for you to kind of do the work and the forecasting for a new hire, that might be a good place to start. Another one is the case costs account for PI and contingency firms. Case costs are often a big expense and create some unpredictability. Litigation funding is available, but sometimes that can be a headache. And, for folks, even though it is has some tax benefits. So the case cost accounts gives you your own funding. You can set aside a percentage of revenue to go into there. Over time, that account can fund things like medical records, expert witnesses, depositions, and many practice areas have case costs, filing fees, different things if you're in immigration, et cetera. That way you have kind of a dedicated bank for those kinds of things. Okay. Which account would help you most? Of the 6 we just covered, you can answer or you can just think to yourself, which of these would help you the most right now? The Vault account, the new hire, the drip account, the payroll, right? Which of those would be very helpful to you? And if you're setting up Profit First, maybe you've already set up the basics of Profit First, maybe adding one of those can really help you take it to the next level and make it work very effectively for your firm. The idea is you can customize it, right? You can start, Profit First isn't necessarily the exact template that every law firm needs to use. You've got to make it work for you. Okay, now let's talk about the personal wealth. How do we bridge that gap? Everything we've covered so far is about the firm. Now, how do we get it to you? So we start with this, paying yourself a consistent salary. And that's where having the owner's comp account really comes in handy. I know that sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many firm owners we talk to are not paying themselves a consistent salary. They're taking money at random from the firm, or they're taking money when they have a big expense, or they're sending money back to the firm when the firm's running dry. So we really need to create that separation. That's step number one. And Jim can tell you, John can tell you, we have seen it so many times when you do create that wall of separation between the personal and the business bank accounts, and you set yourself up on payroll, whether that's W-2 and K-1, one or the other, a combination, whatever, as long as you're getting the same amount of money from the firm each month on a regular basis, that's the key. And then you can take additional quarterly profit distributions if there's additional money on top of that. But it starts with setting up your owner's comp account, which we talked about before, establishing a fixed automatic salary transferable on a regular schedule, same day, same time, same amount. The only time you take more is when you take your profit distributions. And never send money back to the firm. I know sometimes it happens, but the goal is not to do that. Okay, so that's step one. Consistency really is the key, and paying yourself consistently helps you do that. Personally, here's what it does. Regularity lets you budget. When you know exactly what's coming in, you can plan exactly what goes out. Budgeting is impossible, or very hard at least, with variable income. A consistent salary makes it possible. Number two, regularity lets you pay off debt. Debt payoff requires predictable monthly capacity. If your income swings are wild, it's going to be difficult to do that. And lastly, it helps you save and invest. Investing a fixed amount consistently is one of the most reliable ways to build wealth. And here's how we do it in your personal life. So much like your business, you can set up different accounts, right? I really love Ally Bank for this, for personal banking, because they make it really, really easy to set up accounts. And I've done this in my personal banking, my personal bank accounts. I have an income account that receives all the salary money, all the income from both me and my husband. And then it gets divvied up into sub accounts. We have a rainy day fund, so a percentage goes there. There's a recurring bills account. So this is where it gets a little different. So one account is for recurring bills, anything that's recurring, mortgage, car payments, insurance, subscriptions, Netflix, Amazon Prime, right? All those things come out of that. Then we have a day-to-day spending account. Now, this is for variable daily expenses. And you can have one for each family member if you need to. Sometimes that's a good way to do it. You know, husband and wife each have one. Maybe each kid has their own. But the idea is you could spend all the money in this account and you don't have to worry about anything that's coming out of it, right? Because there's no recurring things coming out. So I can look in that account. I've got 500 bucks in that account. Okay, I know I've got 500 bucks to spend on groceries, dinner out, you know, whatever it needs to be. I don't have anything planned coming out of that account, so I don't have to worry about there being enough money in there. And then you can add additional accounts for different savings purposes, vacation fund, college fund, wedding fund, etc. And so that way we're doing the same thing kind of with Profit for, you know, as Profit First, we're creating those sub accounts for those different purposes. That's the sequence. And really, the idea is, you know, we're giving each dollar a job, as Jim mentioned. It's gonna allow us to make sure we're operating on kind of a cash basis and we're not accruing credit card debt. That's a big one. And this kind of a structure can really help you with that. Any thoughts on this? Is this kind of new to anyone? You like this idea? Or you hate it? No. Anybody do anything similar? Okay.
What I like about this system
Yeah.
is that on the surface it seems like well duh. I mean it's obvious, but
Yeah.
it so many people like vast majority of people don't either in their personal or professional lives don't have this set up. And you know, like I said earlier, you get it set up and it starts flowing, and it's transformational for sure.
It is. If you just have one checking account that everything comes out of, it's chaos. It's hard. It's like, well, I got to make sure there's a certain amount in there and I got the mortgage payment coming out. And, you know, having
Hmm.
separate accounts is really, really, really helpful. The goal, of course, is financial freedom. And this is another point that Mike makes in the book, and I want to emphasize it here. It's really easy to expand your lifestyle as your income grows. We have seen this time and time again. You know, law firm owners come to us that are making great, great money, but they've just been expanding their lifestyle in check. And, you know, you're taking home $700,000 a year and barely able to save any money. So that's the point. We don't want to get to that point. And so we want to lock in our lifestyle and keep the lifestyle from expanding too much as the income grows. The bigger the gap between what you earn and what you spend, the faster you get to financial freedom. And the more you save, the more your money works for you. Some profit first mistakes to avoid real quickly here as you're setting this up. Too much too soon. So make sure you start small. Don't jump in too quickly. Um, Grow first, profit later. That's a trap. We want to be profitable from the start. Cutting the wrong costs. We don't want to slash what drives revenue. So look through your expenses. Only cut the things that are not producing. Plowing back and reinvesting. We want to make sure, again, we're profitable from day one. Rating the account, the tax account. Never. That's the IRS's money. It's not your money. Adding too much complexity could be a mistake. Finally, never actually setting it up, right? Well, we got to do it. Okay, so any thoughts, questions, comments before we wrap up? What's the one thing you're going to do after today? You can think about this, you can share if you want to. What's the one thing you're going to do today? Anything that surprised you as we went through, or anything that you're seeing differently right now? Think about that. If you want to share, you can, or you can just contemplate. Okay, well, we talked about our three pillars of efficiency: removing things, firing the bad clients, freeing up capacity, focusing strategically, cloning your best clients, specializing, and capturing, making sure that you're capturing the right things, customizing profit first, consistently paying yourself, and building up that personal wealth. If you need help implementing all of this, we would love to help you. You can email me, get in touch, Darren at lawyermillionaire.com. Would love to help you put all of this into practice in your firm. And coming up next, get ready because Q2, we're going so much further. We're diving into two books, Simple Numbers and Simple Numbers 2.0. Our theme is the science of profitability. We'll go into the math and the science of all of it. And our next masterclass on Thursday, April 23rd, same time, we will look at the four numbers of simple numbers that unlock your firm's profitability. So that should be a lot of fun. Hey, look, and we're right on time. So thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. Really, really glad you could be here, and I hope you join us for our next one. Any thoughts, comments before we go? All right. Well, hopefully you got a lot of value out of today. And don't be a stranger. Feel free to get in touch if you have questions afterwards or want help putting any of this into practice. So that's it for today. I'll be putting out the recording and the slides for you to use and have that and refer back. And I hope you all have a great week. Saturday is my birthday, and I'm going to be out of town for the next 2 weeks. So bon voyage.
Thanks, Darren. Happy birthday.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Enjoy. Happy birthday. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.